Today we're going to talk about limiting reactant. So what I have right here is called a chemical equation. And this chemical equation basically shows a reaction that can happen when you react butane with oxygen, which is a combustion reaction. Will give you carbon dioxide and water. So this chemical equation is sort of like saying what the guidelines for the reaction are, what the ratios are. But it may be a little difficult to understand at first, so we're going to come up with an analogy that will make it very, very simple. So the best analogy out there, just one sec, out there is like a recipe. So, okay, so like I said, that chemical equation is pretty complicated, so we're going to start off with something very simple, and then we'll come back to it. So let's say, we're not even going to start with a chemical equation. Let's just say what's a good recipe? Okay, one I like to use a lot is one's for jumbo omelets. Alright, so say you wanted to make some jumbo omelets, right? So what you do is you would, and if you didn't know how to make them, the jumbo omelets, you go and look at a recipe, open up the book, and you saw that it said to make one jumbo omelet, you would have to take 2 eggs, these are the ingredients for the recipe, 2 eggs and 3 cheese. Okay, so two eggs and 3 cheese will give you 1 omelet. So this is how the recipe would look in the book. But another way you could write it is you could say, okay, so we're gonna say eggs is capital E, cheese capital C, and then omelets, we'll make it O, capital O, lowercase m. So another way you can write it is 2 eggs plus 3 cheese will give you 1 jumbo omelet. Alright, let me get some more room here. So let me rewrite what we just had. 2 eggs plus 3 cheese give us 1 jumbo omelet. Okay, so what does this mean? 2 eggs plus 3 cheese gives us 1 omelet. So let's say you wanted to make 2 omelets, okay? 2 omelets. You want 2 omelets. The question is, how many eggs do you have to use? So, I mean, you could just look at it and you say, okay, well, we know to make 1 omelet, that's not 10 M's, that's 1 omelet, you need to use 2 eggs. So if you wanted 2 omelets, you simply double it, and you're going to have to use 4 eggs. And then how many cheese? Plus 6 cheese. Okay? That's pretty simple. Let's see if we can bump it up a level. Let's say we wanted 0.5 omelets. Oh, what happened there? Hold on. 0.5 omelets. So basically half an omelet. So if 2 eggs gives us 1 omelet, and we want half an omelet, therefore we're only going to need half the amount of eggs. So you would just need 1 egg. And then half the amount of cheese is 1.5 cheese. Okay, so this is pretty simple, right? This is all it is to it. This is exactly what you need to do. If you understand this, then you understand the concept behind it. But you also need to be able to understand how to write it out. So let's do this simple one again. 2 omelets. How many eggs do you need? Like we already did in our head, we need 4 eggs and 6 cheese. Let's say we couldn't do it in our head. How would we write it out? Again, we're going to use dimensional analysis, my favorite. So put 2 omelets. You right here, you start off with whatever you're given. Okay, we're given 2 omelets. We want to figure out how to make 2 omelets. So you write that, and you put it over 1 to make it look nice. And now you're going to multiply it times a conversion factor. Now this conversion factor, this is why we need the chemical equation or the recipe. Okay, this is where it comes into play for the conversion factor you're going to put here. So you have 2 omelets, and you want to figure out how many eggs. Okay, we're doing eggs first. You need, for your conversion factor, you need to do the mole ratio between what you want, which is eggs, and what you have, which is omelets. So let's do that again. This means what we have, or what we want, is eggs, right? Oh, how come this is, there we go. Eggs. And what we have, or what we're starting off with, the amount we're starting off with, is omelets. Okay, so there's your units right there. Now, what numbers go here? All you have to do, takes no math. You just have to look at the number in front of the eggs or omelets in the chemical equation or the recipe. So for eggs, there's a 2. So we're simply going to write a 2 right there. For omelets, there's a 1. So we're simply going to put a 1. Okay, and there you go. There's the conversion factor. So we put an equal sign. And remember, the whole point of dimensional analysis is to do it by the units. So omelets divided by omelets cancels out, and you're left with eggs. And remember, the original question was how many eggs. So that's the units that we want. So 2 times 2 is 4. And there you go. That's your answer right there. Very simple. That's exactly how you write it out. This is exactly how you're going to do every single problem in this format. It just depends on what you're looking at, and you just put different numbers. Okay, so we have some more time to do some more practice ones. So here's the same recipe for the jumbo omelets. Now before, we started off with, like, we just went in the kitchen and we said we wanted 2 omelets. Here's the recipe. How many eggs and cheese do we need? Well, let's say you guys are having a chemistry study party one morning, and you guys get hungry and decide you want to cook some omelets. So you open up the fridge, and let's say you have 6 eggs. Okay, and unlimited cheese. Let's not worry about the cheese. We have all the cheese that we need. We have the big stack in there. But we only have 6 eggs. So the question is, what is the maximum amount of omelets that we can make? So, when you get a problem like this, don't think too hard about it. All you need to know is, you are given the amount of this right here. So you're given the amount of eggs. And then you want to know the amount of omelets. So simply, all you have to do is take the number that you have, which is the 6 eggs, and multiply it times the ratio between the omelets and the eggs. The cheese doesn't even matter. So, real quick, it goes just like this. Eggs on the bottom because we're trying to cancel that out. Omelets on the top. And like I said before, you just look at the number right here that's in front and right there. So omelets is a 1, eggs, it's a 2. So that equals 3 omelets. So with that 6 eggs, you can make a total of 3 jumbo omelets. Alright, now, let's say, okay, let's say you had, let me change the color again. Alright, let's say, okay, so the ones we were doing before are pretty easy. You're thinking, Josh, you know, I can easily do 6 divided by 2 in my head. I don't need to write all this out. It's a waste of time. I don't know why you're showing me this. But it's not always that easy, because there's a lot of times, because I'm giving you really easy numbers, 6 eggs. Of course, you can do that in your head, but sometimes you're going to get some weird stuff. Actually, most of the time you will. You'll get fractions such as 0.893, and let's say you had 0.893 cheese. Okay? So the question is, let's change it up. Let's say the question is, you have 0.893 cheese, and you want to know how many eggs you need to cook with those cheese. So I changed it up there. Before, we started off with an ingredient, and we're trying to figure out how many omelets we can make, or we started off with how many omelets we wanted, and then how much ingredients we need to use. Now we're, instead of comparing ingredients to the actual food or the reactants to the product, we're going to compare a reactant, which is the cheese, to another reactant, which is the eggs. So, and it's actually the same exact thing. So we're starting off with cheese, the light blue underline, and now we want to know how many eggs. So same setup. You take the amount you have, and you're going to multiply it times the mole ratio between what you want, which is eggs, and what you have, which is cheese. And then take those numbers, 3 cheese in the recipe and 2 eggs. Alright, I have to get a calculator for this. Alright, and I got 0.595 eggs. Okay, so there it is. When it doesn't matter what you're trying to compare. So like I said before we were doing a reactant to find the product, or the product to find the reactant. Here we just compared a reactant to the other reactant. But it doesn't even matter. You still do the same method. You take what you have and you multiply it times the ratio between what you want and what you have. Multiply it times that ratio, and that will equal the amount of what you want in order to compare to what you have. And it's as simple as that. So, running out of time here. On the next video, we'll bump it up another level.